World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You're risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Tonight we head to a land down under, to the fearsome Mount Panorama circuit, as we find out who at the end of tonight's festivities will become the season champion for Season 3 of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series. It's Alex Goldschmidt and Nico Hilbrand. Firstly, we have to say I hope you're having a lovely holiday at Kieran McGinley, because he is really, really gutted he's unable to be here tonight, because this is his favourite track. It is, of course, New South Wales, Mount Panorama, more commonly known as Bathurst. Just over 6.2 kilometres, nearly half of that is on straightaways, and we bid everyone a warm welcome. From those that are watching on the World Pro Racing streams on Facebook, Twitch, and also on YouTube, also TVM Sport, motorsport.tv, I think also the race as well. And of course, we have to say a big thank you to our partners as always, Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, and AMD. Nico, firstly, good to see you again, my friend, after we took our own place with regards to the long haul stint at the Duo Series, which returns this coming Tuesday. It's been rather interesting coming into this round. Tinko van der Velde from the Netherlands, Sidemax Motorworks, took the victory ahead of Harry Spears, with Richard Schaeffer running out the top three last time around. It's looking rather interesting at the top, but they've got a very, very fearsome challenge in store for them tonight over the half-hour race.
Absolutely, and I mean, one of the biggest things about Bathurst, of course, is if you're fast around the mountain, that's one thing, but you will have to run low downforce nevertheless, because otherwise you're not going to get past anyone on the long straights. And I think all the drivers here are aware of that, and especially just getting close to the wall here, I think people will get caught out by that as well.
Yes, indeed. Places such as Griffin's Bend, Quarry Corner, the Cutting, McPhillamy, the Dipper, Skyline. I've seen it where people have actually done 360s on Assetto Corsa Competizione, of course, Forest Elbow, where Chaz Mostert a few years ago in the Ford Falcon unfortunately had his 2014 Super Cheap 1000 efforts come to an end. Conrod Straight, where these cars will be pushing close to their top speeds, which will be in the region of 280 to 285 kilometres an hour. And tonight we decide a €500 prize fund. The winner will get €250 in their pocket. Second will get 150, and third will get €100. And it's going to be rather fast here tonight. We've got quite a few usual faces, the likes of Sheldon Muscat, Dean Vella, Dario Manjon, Luke Whitehead, Harry Spears. And there you can see the circuit in all its glory. And really big thank you to the guys over in Malta at the World Pro Racing headquarters to actually give us the full signage on the side of the hill. And that is going through Skyline and into the S's and into the Dipper. From this vantage point, Nico, it doesn't look daunting, but when you're driving it from a driver's perspective, it is a completely different experience altogether.
I'll just say it's, more on the level of, someone who's driving it for the first time. It's an absolutely horrifying track, especially, starting to make your way up the hill after turn 4. You're just constantly so close to the wall at such high speeds, and really just trying to not make a mistake. You're trying to stay flat out, but you're not quite able to make it all the way. But the entire way, you're just constantly pushing. As you see Jack Noller here in the Honda, one of the very fastest cars around here. And you can see how close he's getting to the wall there. Just absolutely crazy. Here we had a big crash in last year or 2 years ago with Marvin Kirchhoff actually in real life, flipping his Aston Martin there. So, in real life and in the simulator, it's just such a difficult track. As we can see, once again, he's constantly just trying to find a straight line from wall to wall, so to say.
Yeah, obviously that was the year after Jake Dennis put the car on pole position for our Motorsport, running the Aston Martin Vantage V8s. That car was definitely very much second-hand. I remember seeing that, and that was for the Liqui Moly 12 hours of Mount Panorama, which hasn't run properly since COVID-19 came into prominence, but we're going to have it here. And you can see we have 17 drivers on the server. And at the moment, Jack Noller leading the way in the Honda. Well, he's actually one of the first drivers out on track. Luke Whitehead, Sheldon Muscat, Harry Spears, Richard Schiffer, Dean Vella, Tinkel van der Velde from the Netherlands, the 17-year-old from Sidemax Motorworks, winning last time out, Johannes Weiss. For those that will know of Butterpal Motorsport, let's go on board with Jack Noller on a hot lap here at Mount Panorama. So down the main straightaway, into turn 1 at Hell Corner, down the gearbox, tight on the apex, allow the car to drift to the right-hand side of the circuit before running your way up Mountain Straight. And this is where you really start to build momentum and really start to carry the commitment and the consistency. And we're going to see just how close Jack Noller pushes this Honda NSX GT3 Evo as we go into the right-hander here at Griffin's Bend. Now up the hill towards turns 3 and 4 into the cutting. And he decides to abort that hot lap. That was a bit of a foregone conclusion, but there is a familiar face back in a familiar car. Luke Whitehead in the H3 Racing number 2 car. Now, obviously, he was the runner-up last season. Normally runs in the 404, but we've also got Jalid Nagar in the number 12 Porsche. But this track, Nico, it has a lot of elevation changes, a lot of off-camber corners as well, especially when you're going through Reed Park, Sulman, and then McPhillamy. And that's like that's a more fearsome triple or quadruple left than I've seen on any other circuit across the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not only that though, you saw the hairpin just now that goes from on camber to off camber in the acceleration zone. So really, really difficult to get that run properly there, as we have Luke Whitehead here just going in a rather wide line, but taking a lot of momentum there. Now through Skyline, actually now getting to Skyline over the crest, and you can see how much that car is just moving around, how it's trying to keep it in check. You actually have to turn in before you actually get to the actual turn-in point for the dipper. You have to turn in over the crest, so the wheels are in the air. Then the car comes down, then the tires grip, and you're basically just praying, I hope I didn't turn in too early, and I hope I didn't turn in too much, because then you're going to hit that inside wall.
Right, okay, Luke Whitehead now making his way down Conrod Straight. Now, the chase was actually brought in to facilitate with the World Touring Car Championship back in the 90s, if memory serves me correctly, and they're pushing over 280 kilometers an hour. They're going to bring it down. They're going to scrub off a hell of a lot of speed, probably the best part of nearly 160 kph going through the chase, which is turns 21 and 22. And Murray's Corner is the final turn on the circuit here. 23 corners, 6.213 kilometers, and a whole lot of gear changes. The track actually opened back in 1930, so it's been going on for over 7 decades. The likes, there's been a who's who of who has actually raced and won here. The likes of Craig Lowndes, Jamie Whincup, Shane Van Gisbergen, Chaz Mostert, John Bowe, the legendary Peter Brock, Gentleman Jim Richards, Mark Scaife. The list goes on and on and on. And this particular circuit is part of the Intercontinental GT World Challenge run by SRO. As now we go on board with Luke Whitehead through the right-hander here at Griffin's Bend, up the hill. And as you were saying, Nico, he's really trying to carry that momentum through up towards the cutting. And as you said, you can see that he's trying to turn the car in, but there's snap-on oversteer on the back end of the Ferrari, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, 3.9 litre, twin-turbo V8, pushing out around about 700 newton meters of torque. And what's more, through the steering inputs we see, it's a very fast and frantic lap around here, because you don't really get any chance to breathe unless it's from Hell Corner to Griffin's Bend on the Mountain Straight, and from Forest Elbow down to the chase via Conrod.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, adding to that, that was very close for him there. Had to bail out of that for a moment. And actually, that was one of the things that I was going to call out. Hey, it's not really commentator's curse if it hasn't happened yet. If you didn't know that it was going to happen, right?
Well, it's all your fault, Nico.
But basically, I was going to note, Luke Whitehead had quite a bit of trouble getting the car turned in there. There was basically, if you miss the turning point a tiny little bit there through turn 3 and 4, slide a little bit wide, you get into the marbles and you're already sliding wide. The next big problem, which I'm sure the more observing people have already noticed, current track temperature is 45 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not quite as high as we had last weekend at Portimao for the 8 hours of Portimao in the World Endurance Championship, which was 50 degrees at the start of the race already. But 45 degrees, at this track where you can't really allow yourself to make any mistake, where you're constantly pushing on the limits at above 200 kilometers an hour. So you're gonna have some downforce, but you're still, of course, really reliant on the tires. And Simon Wozarek really trying to push there, even taking some of the curbs, and yeah, really showing how far on the limit you have to be driving, but also how far you have to be in control here.
Yeah, Simon Wozarek, one of two drivers, along with Regan Mitchell in the 69 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Leading the timesheets at the moment is Harry Spears in the 285. He finished second last time out at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. We've been from Laguna Seca to Imola to Kyalami, back over to Italy at Monza, and now we are right across the other side of the globe as Wozarek hustling that Lamborghini, running in the Orange One Triple F Racing Team colours. Will normally run in a white or a black variation. That team has been in GT3 action for quite a few years and also has its own esports team, as there's a few other cars coming through the chase. Having a look on the YouTube chat, we've got a couple of drivers that are thinking that Gergely Consabo is going to win tonight. Have you had any reaction on Twitch, Nico?
No reaction so far, at least as far as I could see. However, we still got a couple of viewers here, and I'm sure that they'll also have their say in some of the racing action later on.
Indeed. So you've got, that looks to be, you've got the likes of Sheldon Muscat and also Jack Noller. There's Regan Mitchell in the SimSport Racing number 69 Lamborghini, making his way through Forest Elbow. And here at this particular part of the circuit, you've really got to keep it close to the wall as you come out onto Conrod Straight. And that 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V10 absolutely howling down the main straightaway. So this is what I love about GT3 racing, that you have such a mix, a cornucopia of different sounds from these engines. We don't see any Audis, which are the sister cars to the Huracan GT3 Evo. We do see Porsche, Lexus, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Honda, Bentley and Mercedes as well. And Harry Spears, the only Mercedes driver in this field. Tinko van der Velde opting for the Ferrari in the number 66. Regan Mitchell goes P7 with a 2-minute 1.863. But Harry Spears is 3.5 tenths. So Sheldon Muscat has found the wall, going through the S's and into the dipper, and brought out the yellow flags. That Honda NSX looking rather second-hand at the front of that particular clamshell bonnet. There's Luke Whitehead now. Oh, he does exactly the same, but on the other side of the track. Whoops. Dean Vella in the RPM Esports number 54 Honda NSX. So there are three being run by the Maltese crew. A regular, all three drivers here on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform. And it looks like that could be Shininkami just up ahead. There's Dihej Naga in the H3 number 12, well, the H3 car, the number 12, going up Mountain Straight and into the right-hander here at Griffin's Bend. And tight on the apex, even though the Porsche here, Nico, is the heaviest car out of all cars that are being used here tonight, it's definitely one of the most capable through low speed and mid-speed corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think especially at the climb here, you have so much traction in the Porsche due to the rear engine layout. And, you know, especially at the start, I think you can catch people out. But then the rest of the way down, you know, because these rear engine cars have such a tendency to go full pendulum on you, you know, the rear end really likes to switch around if you're not in complete control. For the downhill way, down the mountain, you're really fighting for survival, and then, well, you're basically starving on the straight, because the Porsche really isn't a big straight line car nowadays, so it's quite a difficult track for the Porsche, of course, but the strength definitely lies at the start of the lap.
Yes, indeed. Just coming up to just over 3.25 minutes in this free practice session. We'll have a 15-minute qualifying session and then a 30-minute sprint race to decide the winner of the 5th and final round of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series for Season 3. If you do want to find out about upcoming events here on World Pro Racing, which does include the likes of the forthcoming multinational GT3 Championship fueled by Enemed. The registrations close very quickly. I think it is next Friday that they will close, and then there will be qualifying, semi-final and final stages which will see which driver that is over the age of 16 and is a Maltese national that will represent Malta at the forthcoming FIA Motorsport Games, which will take place in Le Castellet at Circuit Paul Ricard later on this year. That will be October. That will also, good news from us here at World Pro Racing, that Vibe FM over in Malta have become the dedicated radio partner for that championship. We've also got the Duo Series, which will be heading to Circuit Zolder in Belgium. We've then got the penultimate round of the AMD GT4 Championship, which will head to Misano, and that's the world circuit named after the late Marco Simoncelli, the MotoGP rider who we lost tragically back in the early 2010s. We've got the fourth race of the HyperX Open Series on Friday the 2nd of July at Misano. So there is still plenty more to come, plenty of developing situations here at World Pro Racing in terms of championships and also casual races. So if you do want to get involved, you're either on PS4 or PC. We cater for amateurs, professionals, all walks of life, and what's more, we'd like for you to join us. So head to worldproracing.com/events to see how you can get involved, and maybe we'll see you broadcasted here on any of the one of the many World Pro Racing affiliated streams, such as the ones that we run on Facebook Live, YouTube and Twitch. If you are watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and also, whilst you're at it, hit the notification bell as well, which will then tell you and notify you when any forthcoming broadcasts are up. As we've just seen one of the cars into the wall. That looks to be Pedro Cruz Gomez, a regular here on World Pro Racing, took part in the Alpine GT4 Championship that we saw Alex Trehorn secure the victory at the last round at Road America in Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin. But there's Artur Sarznecki in the number 52 car, currently P3 at the moment. But Nico, at the moment, Harry Spears and Jack Noller leading the way as the yellow flags are out once again.
Yeah, and they seem to be quite comfortable there. They are, well, absolutely just having a blast, so to say. And quite honestly, what could you say other than they're just letting it fly right now? Of course, Jack Noller, finding a lot of confidence in his Honda right now, and that is good like that, because the Honda, really a difficult car to get the proper grips off, because it's just simply such a unique car. It doesn't quite drive like a rear engine, doesn't quite drive like a mid-engine, but when you get the grip of it, it's such a competitive and fast car. And especially around here on the mountain, it has strong BOP, and these guys are really raring to show that VTEC power.
Yeah, crank up the VTEC. That's what the Hondas like to do, especially when you get them past a certain rev range. But Tinko van der Velde from the Netherlands in the number 66 Sidemax Motorworks car, making his way down Conrad Straight in his Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo. The practice session timer has clicked to 0. And pretty much everyone apart from Van der Velde, Pirmets, Shininkami, and also Pedro Cruz Gomez still out on the circuit at this particular moment in time. But Van der Velde coming through the chase, now heading down into Murray's corner. Currently 9th at the moment at this particular moment in time, as the number 66 will come across the line very, very shortly through Murray's corner. And as Van der Velde improve, goes P3 on that one, as the checkered has now flown out. There is Silva Pirmets, the Estonian, in the number 23 Lexus RCF GT3. And Pirmets company 16th at the moment, 2 minute 4, but goes P12 after that particular occasion. Azuka Langley Shininkami in the number 3, the Japanese driver, coming through for a elbow. Down in 16th position at the moment as Pedro Cruz Gomez, still the number 43 car, is out on the track. So we'll have Shininkami and Gomez being the last to cross the line. And it'll actually be Gomez before Shinkami. And I love the way that the blips on the throttle as the 4-litre flat 6 Porsche comes through into the chase, as Gomez will now cross the line. And the number 3 Porsche now we'll also do the same, and that is it for the session. But Harry Spears was leading the way on that one. Good to see Tinko van der Velde jump up from P9 to P3 in that session, but now it's the all-important qualifying session. And with the fact that these drivers are doing around about a 2:05 or so, it's going to be difficult to get that in and out lap rather crucially. And if you make a mistake, we've seen it during the practice session, Nico, the walls here at Mount Panorama are relatively unforgiving.
Absolutely. Not only that, but if you really want to get the best out of your entire qualifying session, that first lap will be a little bit slower, you know, just warming the tires up, getting the tires up to temperature and pressure as well, but also not getting too much temperature into it. Of course, we're on a track where it basically melts the Pirelli tires away. And after the last F1 Grand Prix at Baku, we're quite used to that side already, but hopefully
let's not talk about Pirellis and Baku. I think there's been a lot of fallout, especially between Red Bull, Aston Martin and Pirelli themselves. But if we can, let's see if we can head back to the circuit, because it looks like qualifying is now underway. Drivers are circulating on the track. Track temperature still 44 degrees Celsius. Even though it's a sprint race, Nico, tyre management is going to be crucial, especially when you're going through, like you say, cambered and off-cambered corners. These sidewalls of these tyres are going to be absolutely tortured to death, and it's about who manages it most in the hot weather conditions, but also make sure that they manage the fuel correctly as well, because you don't want to underfuel, and that could really cause you a problem later on in the race.
Yeah, that as well. That also, certain drivers, you know, we know a lot from our interviews from earlier this season already. Luke Whitehead, for example, he prefers to stay very aggressive on the tires. After all, it's just a half an hour race, so you know, these tires are supposed to last for at least an hour. But still, he said he had tire trouble, for example, at Imola. And in these conditions here, just in these temperatures, it could get very, very tricky for him. Especially then with the contrast, you know, of the Bentley boys here with Richard Schäfer and Johannes Weiss. These guys are very, very good on tires. They are completely used to this car at this track already, having driven this in the SimGrid World Cup already. So it's really going to go down to the wire.
We can't forget about a person that's also in that squad as well, yourself, because you've been running in Split 2 with the SimGrid World Cup, which heads to Donington Park next week for qualifying and for the 12-hour race. But we now...
I totally didn't forget about that.
I know you totally didn't forget about it. I made sure I just reminded you. Just, you know, it's what mates do, isn't it, at the end of the day? Even though I don't compete on a sim rig, I'm an absolute nightmare behind the wheel of a sim rig, and they caught you on camera. Brilliantly done by the crew over.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up from me. But now we get to the real sort of aperitif before the main course, as Tinko van der Velde really hustling the Ferrari. And one of the big things about qualifying is having track position, because van der Velde is effectively the yardstick for the rest of the competition. When you look at who's behind him, the likes of Harry Spears, Luke Whitehead, Jack Noller, Sheldon Muscat, Simon Vosarek, Dario Mangion, Shikinami in the number 3 Porsche, Dean Vella, Pedro Cruz Gomez, you know, and then you've got the likes of Johannes Weiss and Richard Schäfer, who are like 13th and 15th out. The good thing is that they'll be able to see what the sector times are from the rest of the opposition, but also how they're able to managing their own setup in qualification.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that there is also going to be a lot of looking at right now, you can see it there with that Honda right behind Harry Spears' Mercedes. These guys are also looking for a draft. It does seem a little bit insignificant, simply because these cars just get really fast down the straight anyway. But these 2, 3, 4 kilometers now that you can get down the hill, that amounts to 1 to 2 to maybe even 3/10 down the entire way. And Tinko van der Velde completely had us on. And already finished here.
Yeah, and Harry Spears has already got into the sub 2-minute ones. He's put in a 2-minute 0.903. And if memory serves me correctly, Harry Spears will be running the non-Evo version of the Mercedes. I have commentated on him in multiple different championships, and I've never seen him use the Evo version of it, even though the Evo version has 100 Newton meters more at the displacement of the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8. And for those that might want to correct me, saying, well, the road car's got a 4 litre twin turbo V8. Yeah, well, the GT3 they did the old if it ain't broke don't fix it, and still kept the 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 under the bonnet. Jack Noller rounds out the top 2 ahead of Sheldon Muscat. And they're separated by, 57 thousandths of a second. There's Johannes Weiss from Butler Palm Motorsport. The 271 Bentley. He's about to come through Murray's Corner. And let's see what his lap time is. P7. Good running there. Bentley have actually won at the Liqui Bathurst 12 hours before. So has the likes, I think if I remember correctly, ACMG won it with Nissan back in 2015. Mercedes have won it as well, and there you go. There's Harry Spears, non-Evo Mercedes, and there's Jack Noller trying to get that draft. I mean, you're probably going to get no more than about, what, a tenth of a second advantage through the draft down here?
Down here, it would actually be quite surprising. The thing is, you have to be close enough. If you're within 7 tenths, maybe you get half a tenth advantage. If you're within 5 tenths and the downforce stuff fits well. And that's just 2 of the things that calculate into this. You know, the gap that you have and, you know, what kind of downforce setting you are running. But it also counts into what car's running in front of you. Because if there's a Honda running in front of you and they have a low downforce setting and you're in a Bentley, for example, you're not going to catch them either way.
Yeah, very true. As Sheldon Muscat now makes his way down the Conrod Straight. No one in front. We've got some more people in the YouTube chat. Chris CBO says good luck to everyone tonight. Q says go on Luke. So Luke Whitehead's got a supporter. Hoping it's going to be more than one supporter. But Sheldon Muscat about to complete another lap in qualifying. As Gergely Kunsaba in the Honda goes up into P9 on a 2 minute 2.325. Sheldon Muscat, will he may be able to make some inroads this particular time around? No, that lap was just over 4 tenths of a second slower, and he does a return to garage. Johannes Weiss from Germany in the 271 Bentley now hits the anchors in that Sherman tank of a Bentley right there, and he gets through the chase nice and easily up towards Murray's Corner under the Liqui Moly Bridge. So we'll see if Johannes Weiss goes a little bit quicker, because he is, and that's a good time in the Bentley. He's up into P4 on a 2 minute 1.539 and ahead of teammate Richard Schaefer. So the Bentley rounds out the top 5 from the 2 guys at Butler Palm Motorsport. So good showing from them at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, Johannes Weiss actually wrote to me just before the qualifying session started, well, actually a bit before that, that he had to do a 1.5 hour drive, and if he was going to miss the briefing, then he was going to be very, very sorry. And if I could ask Justin and all that. So yeah, he was really worried that he wouldn't even make the race, simply because he had to drive to university and all that jazz. But, well, seemingly hasn't slowed him down one bit, and definitely still got the will and the strength to perform here, despite the absolutely brutal temperatures that we currently have in Germany as well.
Yeah, a far cry from what we've had in, well, the United Kingdom. We're probably about 15 degrees cooler than what you guys are over in Germany, but we did have our fair share of a heat wave, highs of around 28, 29 degrees Celsius earlier on this week, which kicked off my hay fever big time. And that's not something, you know, that's something that I have to be worried about sneezing in front of people. Especially with the current situation. But Gergely Kunsabo improves on time and actually improves ahead of Dean Vella. So the number 11 Honda goes up into P9. Regan Mitchell in the Lamborghini from Simsport Racing rounds out the top 8 as Nugger in the number 12 Porsche, currently 13th in the minute, will now come around the final corner and will look to set hopefully an improved lap time. There's Luke Whitehead flying that Ferrari through the S's and through the dipper down towards Forest Elbow. And you can just see how hard he's pushing. And there is that's Dean Vella just behind in the Honda NSX. So coming to the last 5.5 minutes of qualifying, but at the moment Harry Spears by just over 0.17 of a second. Quicker than GT Omega RPM Esports Jack Noller, with Sheldon Muscat in the number 14 sister Honda to the number 36 of Noller. They round out the top 3. Johannes Weiss and now Tinko van der Velde makes it 4 different brands in the top 5 So Van der Velde, effectively the meat in the sandwich, the Ferrari meat in a Bentley sandwich in qualifying at the moment with 5 minutes on the clock to go. Whitehead puts in his first lap and goes 10th, but then instantly drops to 11th position. So he's currently on a 2-minute 2.1. Sheldon Muscat. Now see how hard he's going to push in the Honda NSX. So let's keep on board with the number 14 down through into Forest Elbow. And glances the wall on the inside. Whoops, that's not what you want to do when you aborts the lap there. I think just a little bit too much over rotation. Here's Tinko van der Velde coming through the same section. Nice and clean from the number 66. As we're now going to go up to pretty much top speed in this Ferrari. Up the rev range. 6th gear and over 260 kilometres an hour heading into the chase and quickly increasing. And he hardly lifted there. 280 on the speedometer. That is incredible. That's over 175 miles an hour from Tinko van der Velde. As he's currently P5, but with that committed and convincing. And he goes P3, 3/10 off of Jack Noller. Tinko van der Velde wants to make sure he's at the sharper end of the grid because he won at Monza last time out, and he's hoping for a good result this evening. But that's the warning shot fired by Tinko van der Velde. Harry Spears at the moment isn't really worried about that because he's in the 2-minute .09s. Johannes Weiss, let's see if he can improve and go a little bit further up into the top 5. Can he get into the top 2 rows? And on that particular occasion, that was an outlap. So Johannes Weiss will have this, and if he gets it all nice and neat and tidy this time around, German could have an opportunity at a second and final flying lap. We're into the last 3 minutes and 8 seconds. So let's ride on board with Panorama Motorsports Johannes Weiss in the 271 Bentley Continental GT3 from 2018. Now in towards Griffin's Bend, 6th gear at 243. Wrestles with the back end, just tries to control it there. 3rd gear, now up the hill. And he's going to try and get past the Ferrari that he does, rather quickly going into the cutting. Down into 2nd gear, just round about the 100 kph mark on the apex. Through Quarry, now into Reed Park, Frog Hollow, and then into Silman Park. And this is where the roller coaster ride really happens and really starts here at Mount Panorama. Through Silman Park, into McPhillamy, and you can see how close Johannes Weiss was to the wall. Now through into Skyline, and then further roller coaster action happens here through the S's. And the amount of steering input and correction that Johannes Weiss is having to do to steer this absolute big-ass Bentley through the S's, through the dipper. And there is, of all people, Richard Schäfer. So Johannes Weiss could do with a little bit of a toe here, and that's working out to his advantage. And this is where sometimes having a teammate that's going to cooperate a little bit with you, that's given Johannes Weiss, I think, probably a couple of tenths of a second there. And yes, I did drop a little bit of a boo-boo there. First time I've ever done that, but it was just by the sheer impression that Johannes Weiss gave me with that ultra-committed lap.
Absolutely. At the same time, I was going to call out something there as well. Just look at the line that you have to take from the driver's seat of that car when you go into the dipper. Normally it's terrifying enough when you're in the left-hand drive car. You're just trying to stay, as best as possible and get as close to the wall as possible. But with the Bentley, you really have to factor in pretty much most of the car still being between you and that wall. So the dipper with the turning point already over the crest, the car not directly turning in, getting a little bit more of a difficulty tweak, so to say, with the right-hand drive.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is just that Johannes Weiss actually got to within a tenth of Sheldon Muscat on that lap. And, you have to, I think at the end of the day, Johannes has to say a bit of a thank you to Richard for that little bit of an assistance. Because he was in the right, Richard Schäfer was actually in the right place at the right time for Johannes Weiss. And that has helped Johannes and Richard. At the moment, they're currently on row number 3 at the minute. So an All Butterpal Motorsport lockout on row 3. That's going to be quite good for them. As we now head into the last 20-odd seconds of the qualifying session. Jack Noller, I think, has just resigned himself to the front row alongside Harry Spears. Tinko van der Velde is the one that I'm going to really be keeping my eyes on, along with the likes of Dean Vella, who is currently 7th at the moment and is just under a 10th off of Richard Schaefer on this particular occasion. But the timer hits 0. Checkered is out. So the likes of Silver Piermet, so I think is just up ahead, which is the case because the number 16 was showing in the windscreen. So Harry Spears has returned to garage. He's got provisional pole. Dean Vella goes ahead of Richard Schaefer on the checkered flag. Regan Mitchell, currently P9, and the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo goes 8th. And here is Luke Whitehead, currently 11th at the moment. And the number 2 comes out of the final corner. Will he make any improvement up into the top 10? P8 goes ahead of Regan Mitchell by just literally over a 10th and sets exactly the same lap time as Richard Schaefer, as Sheldon Muscat makes his way through Skyline into the S's. And Sheldon currently sitting in 4th at the moment. Johannes Weiss has crossed the line and will start from P5 and will have the Honda of Dean Vella alongside for close company. But Sheldon Muscat, oh, that was he got that to within about less than a quarter of a door's length between the side of that Honda and the wall coming out of Forest Elbow. And it's just really interesting to hear the different engine notes here as well, because if memory serves me correctly, that Honda is actually the lowest displacement on any of the cars here. 3.5 litre, twin-turbo V6 engine. Normally would have a hybrid setup. It was the road car. This car developed in conjunction with Jazz Motorsports over in Italy, who also construct the TCR cars for Honda's program in the FIA World Touring Car Cup. As Sheldon Muscat, on the dying moments, goes 54 thousandths quicker than Harry Spears. Wow. Honda brings it, and of all people, Sheldon Muscat. That was an epic lap. And I think the old adage goes here, Nico. If it looks slow, it's normally fast.
Absolutely. It was very, very clean. And, well, I mean, the result spoke for itself. Really well done by him, especially a 2-minute flat 0.8 in these conditions. That's just crazy to think about. I mean, quite literally, that is just enough temperature to basically just melt the tire right off the rim. And also to try and keep temperatures in these brakes, which will also heat up the tires. So, yeah, crazy lap. I'm looking forward to the race even more now.
Yeah, so we've got one final 30-minute sprint race here to conclude the third season of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series. First place in the championship takes home €250, second takes 150, and third takes 100. And to be honest with you, this is the first time of being involved with the WPR ACC Sprint Series, and of all the places I ended up standing in for Kieran McGinley. It's the one track he loves. It's Mount Panorama. We are waiting for the green flag to drop, but Nico, again, the track temperature's still rather high. We're north of 40 degrees Celsius, 42 degrees C. I think the Hondas could really, really fare well here. I mean, we've got two in the top 3. So you've got Muscat starting from pole, Noller from 3rd. You've also got Dean Vella running at the top 6, and he managed to split the 2 Bentleys of Johannes Weiss and Richard Schaefer. So I think the Hondas are going to come on strong here, and qualifying was just a little bit of a glimpse of what we were going to see tonight.
Yeah, the Hondas are notoriously strong here overall, and also quite good at keeping the tires, so to say, well alive in hot temperatures. What I'm quite worried about is the Ferraris we've seen placed quite well as well, considering everything. I mean, Luke Whitehead couldn't quite get on top of his game here, I think. But nevertheless, the Ferrari really doesn't like that high temperatures, and especially around this circuit, you know, where you're constantly leaning on the tires around the top of the mountain. It's really, really difficult. So I'm wondering if maybe the Bentleys, for example, down in 6th and 8th, or 5th and 7th, if they will maybe get a fighting chance against the Ferraris even more when the tires start dropping off.
Yes, that's going to be rather dependent on what happens in the first couple of moments, because the formation lap, ever crucial in GT3 racing. It will be a dual file rolling start formation. We've got 8.5 rows, 17 competitors, and there they are. So this is the site that we're going to see where the cars are all pristine, shined up and looking prim and proper before all hell is going to break loose here at Mount Panorama in New South Wales in Australia. We have ventured across the continents. We've been in the United States. We've been over to South Africa. We've been to continental Europe, to 2 trips to Italy, and now we're at the home of the Liqui Moly 12 Hours of Bathurst. Mount Panorama, the mountain. It's for all to conquer, and it welcomes all challengers, but tonight we crown a champion. So let's run you through a grid for the 5th and final time here on the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series. It's the season finale of Season 3. So it's Sheldon Scott Muscat from Harry Spears. That's number 14 and number 285. That's your front row. Jack Nolla in the number 36 Honda will have last week's winner at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, Tinko van der Velde from the Netherlands in the number 66 alongside. Then it's Germany's Johannes Weiss in the 271 Bentley on the inside of row number 3, and alongside will be the 54 RPM eSports car, the Honda NSX GT3 Evo of Dean Vella. Richard Schaefer in the 42 Bentley will have the number 2 of Luke Whitehead in the Ferrari alongside. And then it's Regan Mitchell in the 69 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Then it is the number 52 of Artur Samecki in the 52 Ferrari. Then it's Gergely Consalvo in the number 11 Honda. Pedro Gomez in the 43 Ferrari. Then we have the number 77 of Dario Mangion in the Lexus. Jihad Naga in the number 12 Porsche. Simon Vosarek in the 63 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Silver Pirmets, the Estonian, a regular here on World Pro Racing. And also Azuka Langley Shikinami from Japan. Half an hour of racing. This will decide our champion for Season 3. And with it, €500 being split between the top 3 at the end of the season. We wait with bated breath. Nico, your final thoughts as we head into the season finale.
I'm at the moment just trying to completely recall the championship standings, because if I recall correctly, in row 4 between Richard Schaefer and Luke Whitehead, we actually have a fight for the 3rd place in the championship one as well, which could really come down to the final results of this last round. So €100 going to whoever of those two would trump over the other. And, well, it really balanced it out quite nicely in the end, because Richard Schaefer, of course, we know, quite bad race at Imola, had this big crash at the start, and then recovered it to, I think, 14th or 15th place.
Yeah.
Of course, had a bit of a weaker start than Luke Whitehead as well, but Whitehead completely missed the last round at Monza due to having qualified for the SRO Esports Sprint Series. And that moment that he was gone, Richard Schaefer used perfectly, got a 3rd place in that race, and of course performed very well as well at Kyalami as well. And it's just absolutely crazy how close this fight is. But also, of course, I'm really looking forward now to the Honda here, to Sheldon Scott Muscat, how he's going to be able to defend that, because at Kyalami he already put on a valiant fight.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the likes of Jack Nolla and Dean Vella, rounding out the top 3 and the top 6 respectively. So, it's time to get down to brass tacks. It's time to crown a Season 3 champion. Here live on World Pro Racing on our Facebook Live, Twitch and YouTube streams, along with the race, motorsport.tv, TVM Sports, and also the Esports Television Network. It's Muscat on pole, Spears alongside Nolla. Then it's Tinko van der Velde, Johannes Weiss, Dean Vella, Richard Schaefer, Luke Whitehead, Regan Mitchell, and Artur Sarnecki, rounding out the top 10, followed by Kunsabo, Gomez, Mangion, Naga. Then we've got Vosarek, Pirmets, and Shikinami. The anticipation builds. We're now riding on board with Harry Spears, out of Murray's corner. Are we ready? Are we set?
Green light, give it all you can.
And we're green, and it's off and away we go. And a good start. Harry Spears gets the jump on Sheldon Muscat. going into Hell Corner for the first time. Nola and Van der Velde nearly side by side coming through the corner, but there's been a bit of an incident behind. Pedro Cruz Gomez off. Looks like Shikinami has also gone off, but Harry Spears has got the jump on the rest of the field as the non-Evo Mercedes goes up mountain straight for the first time of asking. There looks to be Jack Nola fending off the likes of possibly, just waiting until they come through, yeah, Johannes Weiss. And Dean Vella also trying to get his elbow stuck out. Stuck in as well as Cinco van der Velde, very close to the wall, going through into the cutting for the first time of asking. And there's Sarnecki ahead of Dean Vella. That's for 8th and 9th. Gergely Kunsabo still in 11th behind Regan Mitchell. They're all trying to tippy-toe their way through. Tyre temperatures might not be up to optimum at this complete moment in time. Zoe Muscat nearly had a coming together with the wall coming through into Solomon Park, but it might have just been a little bit of a lag spike there. As now Johannes Weiss trying to give the hurry up sign to Jack Nola. He's got Luke Whitehead right up his back bumper, and this is where things get tough. Going through the dipper, now down into the S's. And Shikinami, oh, there's been a moment, Gomez in the wall. That car will be a return to garage, and that's it. Pedro Gomez out of the race. It's a real shame. There's probably terminal damage, so unfortunately with an RTG, that means he will not take any further part. But Harry Spears has a comfortable lead. Sheldon Muscat didn't have the best start possible as we're about to complete lap number 1. But Tinko van der Velde in 3rd place, managing to get past Jack Nola in the initial phase. But Johannes Weiss trying to close in. Oh, Weiss off! No, that was Weiss off at the chase, and that's given Luke Whitehead an opportunity, and all of a sudden Luke Whitehead gets through. The Ferrari now up into 2nd position as Harry Spears leads Sheldon Muscat after the first lap of racing by just over 7.5 tenths of a second.
Very, very close, but Muscat didn't really get the best starting position at the rolling start, and then of course the natural advantage that natural aspiration engines have, they just have that more direct power immediately. Now, Luke Whitehead in 5th has 2 Bentleys breathing down his neck, and Johannes Weiss definitely going to be mad at himself for making that mistake at the chase, but already looking again, and of course, this isn't quite yet time to make a move yet, quite not close enough, but the pressure is on.
Well, we're going to have a look at this is the repeat of what happened to Ricky Monster's Pedro Cruz Gomez. Oh, he just loses it coming out of Skyline and tags the wall big time. And Shikinami, I think, just had a bit of a contact with the back of the Ferrari. But, yeah, that's Gomez. You know, he lost the back end coming out of Skyline and into the S's, hard into the wall on the right, and it pinballed the car across the circuit. But luckily enough, we still have 16 out of the 17 drivers still racing in this. Regan Mitchell now trying to close in. It's Lamborghini versus Honda, going down the dipper, going through the S's and into the dipper. And you can see that the Lamborghini 5.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 versus V10, as we go on board with the number 69 from Sim Sport Racing. Now coming out of Forest Elbow, down the Conrad Straight, and now you can see just how quickly that speedometer is increasing in terms of terminal velocity. Bit 6th gear already, and he's pushing over 250 kph. He's getting a real good slipstream from Dean Vella. And
look at that now the speed itself, though.
I know, but look at the speed, 282 kilometers an hour in 6th gear before slamming on the brakes. He knocks off the best part of well over 160 kilometers an hour of speed. Does Regan Mitchell, very well versed on Assetto Corsa Competizione, known for his brave choices when it comes to car selection. And he's definitely done one here in this season as he's running as one of the 2 Lamborghini protagonists in this championship. And he's trying to close in on Dean Vella. He's about 3.5 tenths of a second behind. And Regan Mitchell last time was just over a tenth behind. Is now Luke Whitehead is up in 5th position, but he's got Johannes Weiss and Richard Schaefer chasing him down for 5th position. You can see now, as I've just seen there, Dean Vella trying to break the toe in front of Regan Mitchell, but on that particular occasion the Lamborghini driver was having absolutely none of it as they go through Griffin's Bend, up the hill now, using as much curb as they dare. And there are our leaders, so Spears leads from Muscat, Van der Velde, Nola, Whitehead, Johannes Weiss, Richard Schaefer, and it's the number 52 Ferrari, and that has got Artur Sarnecki behind the wheel. And again up the hill, going through into Frog Hollow and then into Silman Park before McPhillamy you can just see how close they're getting to the wall, and they are at full speed now. Tyres very much in optimum adhesion settings, and they are not giving an inch there. No, neither is anyone taking a mile here, Nico, as we ride on board with Johannes Weiss.
Absolutely, and that's a bit of a cleaner run, but he can't quite get past yet. It's still Forest Elbow to go. And of course, you will have to get a perfect run out of that. Now, right up the backside of Luke Whitehead, though, a bit of a tank slapper almost. As Richard Schäfer is right behind him as well, but this is close enough now. This should be close enough for Richard Schäfer to make a move now into the coming of the chase over the crest on Conrad Strait. And Whitehead really just not really giving too much space there. Really.
Oh, there's been a tangle. Oh, Whitehead in the wall. Whitehead in the wall spins off. The slightest of contact. It was over 260 kilometers an hour. Oh my goodness me. That was the slightest of touches. And Luke Whitehead was spinning around more times than Kylie Minogue, I'm afraid to say, but that has ended his race. That has really ended his race, because the front and the rear end of that Ferrari completely harpooning into that wall after that slightest amount of contact. And yeah, his race is done, I'm afraid. So Luke Whitehead out of the running for third position. We're going to have to leave it to race control to look at how they see that incident. I'm not going to say anything because I don't know what it is, but here, Gurgly Consabo trying to go brave round the outside of Regan Mitchell, and that's before Griffin's Bend. He's got the job done as the Hungarian. That's absolutely epic stuff. We talked about the Honda being really rapid here at Mount Panorama, and Gurgly Consabo, I think, has just done the move of the night. Let's have a look at the replay. So you can see Richard Schäfer just flashing to Johannes Weiss as they come down Conrad Strait. Now this is how close they were. Johannes Weiss was right on the back bumper. Now he slots to the right-hand side, and yeah, it was the slightest of glances. And Johannes Weiss has had no other alternative but to go off the circuit. That's a tough one to call. I'm not going to say anything there. We have to leave it to race control to decide that one.
I will be brave here.
Yeah, I know you want to be brave here.
I'm going to be the one who's brave here to make actually like my point of view from that. And I think Luke Whitehead, of course, the contact was really unfortunate, but I think that was also like a bit of too much squeezing from Luke Whitehead there. I think we couldn't see it that well from that camera angle, but the way that the Bentley moved, I think he hit the inside curb a slight bit. That set off the car a tiny bit, and then, causes contact with the Ferrari, I think. So, really unfortunate there, of course. I could be wrong as well, of course. It could be a little bit of netcode there as well, or just maybe a wrong observation from my point, but that was quite a lot of squeezing from Luke Whitehead, and that, it was just an unnecessary risk for himself at that point, I'd say.
In other words, the jury's out then, Nico. That's all I'm saying
Yes.
on that one. We'll leave that one like water under the bridge. Okay, right. We've had a report from Race Control. Thank you for George Muscat. Racing incident. So they've called it as a racing incident right there. Swift decision there from our FIA accredited stewarding team. Race director Adrian Figalo and race steward George Muscat. And so at this particular moment in time, what we have here is that a lot of drivers are still going to be pushing like crazy. There's one of the Hondas. There's Tinko van der Velde, and that will be Jack Noller just behind. And this is where things are going to be rather exciting for the next 20 minutes and 47 seconds. But Harry Spears leading at this particular moment. So, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting how things develop, and at the moment I'm just wondering about the championship ramifications. I'm just trying to get them confirmed at the moment. So yeah, I mean at the minute Tinko van der Velde won the previous race at Monza. Harry Spears, who's leading at the moment, was second. Richard Schäfer, currently sixth, was third, rounding out the top three silver Pyramets. Now obviously one of the other big things was that the 271 of Johannes Weiss was fourth across the line, but post-race was dropped to 11th for a post-race penalty. Not sure what that was for. However, the thing is that Johannes Weiss has come into this race completely fired up, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can always see it from the Bentley boys. Whenever they can have a bad race here and there, but they don't let themselves get put down by that, and still always attacking. So really, really admirable, those two guys. Also really relaxed guys just in person. So yeah, just all around good guys, and just always trying to have a fair fight. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So there's Gergely Kunsabo with that absolute howitzer of a move around the outside of Regan Mitchell and the number 69 Lamborghini from SimSport Racing. So down to 15 we go. Unfortunately, Pedro Cruelas Gomez out on the very first lap, and Luke Whitehead out on lap number 3. So we still have 15 cars rounded out by Azuka Langley Shikinami from Japan, or representing the nation of Japan, and but this battle's going to get rather close here in personal. Zarnecki being chased down by Dean Vella, and at the moment Zarnecki is actually slightly quicker by nearly a tenth over Dean Vella, but that Honda could start unlocking that potential purchase on the circuit. That was a tank slapper and a half for Dean Vella, and I think he just clipped the wall coming through Skyline. Oh, that was definitely a clip. Yeah, that was clipped. That was, that's code brown there, right there and then for Dean Vella, I'm afraid.
It's really, really difficult to completely judge that correctly, because you're just trying to take all of the momentum with you through that. Literally just all of it. Try to stay on the throttle as much as possible, because you have that slight little lift just before the turning point, but on the exit, try to go as wide as possible. Go a bit too much on that curb. Go a bit too wide, or a bit too hard on that curb, and that car will come around on you. So really unfortunate there for Dean Vella.
Yeah, so that has meant that this battle here is now for 8th position. Dean Vella's now dropped to 10th place after that hit into the wall. You can see the Honda just behind. Yellow flags out on the circuit, and that will possibly be for maybe an incident with the number 3 Porsche of Shikinami, who is down in 15th, but the yellow flag has been retracted. It's Gergely Kunsabo. Right, okay, let's have a replay here. Now, this is what happened just a moment ago. This is going through into McPhillamy. So now through McPhillamy. Too much on the grass. Too much on the grass by the right rear. And, he's caught not just... he's gone pirouetting as well.
It's the perfect way around again.
Oh, crikey. So, yeah. That was a bit of a save after that contact with both walls on both sides of the circuit. But Dean Vella has now got to pick up the pace if he can with that damaged vehicle. But he'll try and do his level best. But Gergely Kunsabo still ahead of Regan Mitchell, and we're now getting towards the halfway point of this race. 16 minutes and 45 seconds still to go, and the lead from Harry Spears to Sheldon Muscat is just over 2.5 seconds. And now you can see that Johannes Weiss and Richard Schaefer trying to close in on Jack Noller. Jack Noller, who rounds out the top 4 at the minute. Noller is about a second behind Tinko van der Velde. So the likes of the Honda and the Ferrari, we were thinking that they might get away, but the Bentleys flying in formation at this particular moment in time. 5th and 6th place, as now Richard Schaefer closes to within 3.5 tenths of his teammate Johannes Weiss, as they are just over 2 seconds adrift of Jack Noller, who now is lost out to Tinko van der Velde by about another 4 tenths on the previous intermediate sector. And there is the GT Omega RPM Esports Honda. And there are the 2 Butlerpal Motorsport Bentleys, the Bentley boys here tonight, both from Germany, as they now head into Murray's Corner. As you can just see how tight all 3 cars are on the apex. And just ahead of Jack Noller, you can see there it is Tinko van der Velde, who is currently nearly 3.5 seconds behind Sheldon Muscat, and just up ahead of Muscat by about 2.6 seconds is Harry Spears, who still leads as we're on to lap number 8 of this race. So we could complete around 16 to 17 laps of this 6.213 kilometre circuit. Zarnecki from Poland in the number 52 Odyssey Ferrari is about 3.5 seconds behind Richard Schaefer as he goes through Griffin's Bend, up the hill towards turns 3 and into the cutting. Halfway down, halfway to go. Now, was there a little bit of a moment there for Johannes Weiss? I think he touched the wall ever so slightly, so now that's unlocked Richard Schaefer, who started to hurtle his way into the distance.
Either that or he got a little bit wide, you know? It's very easy to do that at that point of the track, so... Yeah, maybe a little bit of a mistake, maybe also just him thinking, well, you know, Richard can maybe go a little bit faster, I'm just gonna try and hang back for now and go behind him then. Because of course, now that they're in clean air basically, they will try to catch up. Oh, Jack Noller, if possible, but that is a different one. I think there was a car with the number 4 at the back.
Well, hang on a second. I've just seen a moment involving Jack Noller and Sheldon Muscat. So...
That was Sheldon Muscat. No.
Well, I've just seen that is Sheldon Muscat. The guy that was running in second position, and he was 2.6 seconds behind Harry Spears. You know what that's gifted? Tinko van der Velde, the winner last time out at Monza, now has clear air between himself and Harry Spears. And we've got 13.5 minutes remaining. Van der Velde is running about 0.6 off of Harry Spears. So Harry Spears, it's his race to lose tonight.
And I think that's honestly put a lot of pressure off of Harry Spears. Well, even more pressure off of Harry Spears than before. But also, I think a lot of pressure off of Tinko van der Velde, because right now, you know, he's 6.8 seconds behind Harry Spears. The only way that he's going to catch him by now, I think, is going to be either by going, well, 1 second per lap faster, which isn't going to magically appear, I think, or, well, a mistake from Spears, in which case, you know, it's a freebie for Van der Velde anyway. So yeah, I think in Van der Velde's place, I just hang back a bit, keep the gap to Noller right behind him, and just have a nice end of the last 6 or 7 laps that they're going to do here.
Yeah, well, Jack Noller is lapping about a second slower than the Ferrari. And we've just seen some comments from Luke. Luke, sometimes it's always good to take a break, my friend. Okay, now we're on board with Sheldon Muscat. This is going through Skyline, close to the wall. Through Skyline, on the curb. And, oh. Yeah, he just... Oh! How close was that? Jack Noller just glances the left-hand side of his car with his left-hand side. Van der Velde threaded the eye of the needle. Oh my goodness. Sheldon Muscat as a result of that. Oh, there's been a mistake there from Gergely Gunzabo, and that has allowed Regan Mitchell to get through. But Sheldon Muscat now down in 12th position. Sheldon Muscat, whenever we see him, he does really, really well, and then he just has a blip of bad luck. And now, that is Simon Vosarik being chased by Sheldon Muscat, as there's been an exchange of positions again between Gergely Gunzabo and Regan Mitchell. And this is the back. Now, we've got yellow flags out again. Now, I'm wondering who that is for. That could be for the number 12. And that's Naga in the Porsche, who was just coming through the dipper and is actually beached there at the moment. So that's why the yellow flags are out. And, oh, that's another retirement. We are down. And Dean Vella is in the pit lane as well, apparently, in the 54. Well, I'm just going to have a look on here. Dean Vella is actually showing in the pits. God, I knew this was going to be a race of attrition. I didn't realise it was going to be that significant here, Nico, because we've had 5 out of the 17 drivers retire from this race. Silva Pimetz is out as well.
Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier, you know, who's going to conquer the mountain, but if you fall down a little bit wrong, then the mountain's going to conquer you. And that is just, quite frankly, it's Bathurst. There's always going to be death involved for 1 car or 2, or maybe 3 or 4 or 5, you know? So it's really, really difficult, of course, to keep it consistent. On that note, though, quickly, Sheldon Muscat, with that off, you know, with that very dangerous position that he found himself in, huge call outs to him. His first motion wasn't what we would see in any open lobby, for example, you know. that, you would just disable traction control, spin your way back around, even though, some cars are still coming on. First reaction from him was reverse gear, immediately get off the racing line, let everyone through, and then he turned around. So, shout out to his sportsmanship there.
He held the brakes, and that was the best thing he could have done. He held the brakes there. We just saw Dean Vella on a replay just going through into the pits. I still remember when, very famously, Shane van Gisbergen and Maho Engel were in the same Mercedes-AMG GT3, and van Gisbergen pushed the car to the limit and literally wrecked the front end. And I still remember how frustrated and how angry Mauro Engel was that Shane van Gisbergen actually threw away a race victory at the Le Mans Bathurst 12 Hours for Mercedes that particular weekend. I still remember it. I've spoken with Mauro quite a few times. He's a good bloke, now currently running with Mercedes as an AMG Works driver, running with a multitude of teams and a multitude of championships, including IMSA, the GT World Challenge, GT Challenge SRO championships with a lot of teams, as there are the two Bentley boys. So it's looking pretty good for Richard Schäfer as Johannes Weiss again glances the wall. I think, as we would say in Germany, ach meine Güte.
Nothing to be worried about. He's just giving the wall a little smooch on the cheek,
He's giving it a little bit of a love tap with the right-hand front wing.
Yeah, basically. You don't need the rear wing end plates anyway, right?
You think? Try telling that to a GT3 seasoned professional. Maybe the likes of Gilles Goulon or Andy Soucek, who raced with them back in the day. Gergely Kunsabo coming out of fire once again from Regan Mitchell. This is the battle for P7 now on the road. Sheldon Muscat has regained himself up with a bit of composure up towards P10. 8 minutes to go of the season. And in the minute, Harry Spears is extending the gap to Tinko van der Velde by now what is 7.8 seconds, and is consistently 2.5 tenths of a second quicker than the Ferrari. So the Mercedes definitely well and truly proving its might, and it's the non-Evo version. And what Harry Spears did, he got it on pole position. He has not had to look back that far in his rear view mirror, the Side Max Motorworks driver in the 285. Normally when I've seen him race, if it's an endurance race, he's always been partnered by Marcel Fuzi, the young Hungarian driver, who also provides a lot of action when he gets behind the wheel. But that thunderous 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 engine pushing out 550 brake horsepower. And again, there's Spears right up close and personal to the wall, going through out of Griffin's Bend. Now let's keep on board with him at the moment, see how smooth and precise Harry Spears will be going through Quarry, now up through Reed Park. Now is literally like nigh on putting that car on the rev limiter before shifting up another gear just to help the traction and the momentum. He's bouncing off the rev limiter going through McPhillamy, and he was on the rev limiter going through Skyline. Just really smooth and composed from Harry Spears, because he knows that it's just about being smooth and consistent.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see how, well, normally, we have these guys in 5th or 6th or something throughout that entire section. He was just there in 4th, just sort of slowly slowing the car down. And he's just really just owning the track right now. Just no excessive movements, just everything is completely smooth, even over all the bumps.
Yeah, so we're coming into the last just under 6 minutes of this race, and Harry Spears, fastest in free practice, fastest in time qualifying, putting his Mercedes AMG GT3 on pole position, and he still leads after what will be 12 laps. Richard Schäfer and Johannes Weiss still trying to close in on the number 36 of Jack Noller, and 1.7 seconds covers this this trio at the moment, as they now come across the line. Make that just under 1.65 seconds. So Johannes Weiss picking up the pace ever so slightly, and he's actually the quickest out of that trio. He was quicker than Jack Noller by nearly 1.2 seconds on that lap. Jack Noller a 2 minute 3.222. Johannes Weiss 2 minute 2.1 0.025. Richard Schaefer also puts in a personal best and actually goes 0.27 quicker, or 0.27 slower than Johannes Weiss. So the two Bentleys working in tandem and trying to close the gap. They're going to go through another intermediate sector very, very shortly indeed. That gap now down to just over 1.6 seconds. So Jack Noller will see two Bentleys in his rear view mirrors as Johannes Weiss again gets way too close to the wall coming out of quarry. Oh my goodness me, Johannes Weiss is not giving an inch nor taking a mile. He's trying to put that Bentley on the absolute perfect race line as they now go through Skyline. And it looks like Richard Schaefer has got that gap down to less than 1.1 seconds. I think the Bentleys are now closing in on that Honda, and it could be that Jack Noller is going to be double teamed by the two behind.
I think the Bentley boys, they're really running a bit more downforce than that Honda. They can't get him on the straight quite just yet. But look at how much time they made up throughout that last little bit. And I think it's either Jack Noller's tires gone, or maybe Jack Noller's concentration a little bit, which I couldn't blame him for, simply because the last couple of days it's been actually just really, really warm. So yeah. I know how difficult it is to keep up the concentration while driving it the entire time.
Yeah, because the gap now between Jack Noller and Johannes Weiss, that's 3rd to 5th place, is just under 1.125 seconds. As now, Richard Schaefer starting to employ the mind games, because Harry Spears is now on the 14th and penultimate lap of this race. He's now making his way down Mountain Straight. There's Tinko van der Velde, the 17-year-old Dutchman. So it is 2 from Sidemax Motorworks, both in different machinery this time around. And effectively, I'm just going to have a quick look at the standings if I can. So after round 4, Harry Spears is on course to winning the championship. Van der Velde currently in just having a look here. So Van der Velde looking to hopefully secure the runner-up spot, but Harry Spears is on his way in about the next lap and a bit to take the top prize of €250 in this event.
Yeah, so just consistency pays off, you know. Both of them have been really, really well in the running for the entire season, but oh my god, look at how close that Bentley got.
Yes, the two Bentleys of Richard Schaefer and Johannes Weiss. Looks like the way things are going is that Richard Schaefer will overtake Luke Whitehead to take 4th in the standings. As now our leader is making his way down to the chase for what will be the 14th and penultimate time. 1 3/4 minutes still remain in this race. Very shortly we'll have the signal that the leader will be on the final lap. And it has been a pretty good run. Tinko van der Velde would have... So there you go. We've now heard that the leader is now officially on the final lap of this race. Harry Spears has just under 6 kilometres of this circuit to negotiate as Jack Noller coming under fire from Richard Schaefer and Johannes Weiss as they go into Hell Corner, and that gap was at 1.5 seconds. Richard Schaefer and Johannes Weiss, the two Butler Palm Motorsport Bentley Continental GT3s, have been working together to close in on Jack Noller. And coming into this round, Jack Noller was, 10 points ahead of Richard Schaefer coming into this round. And as the way things stand, if Jack Noller takes 3rd position, that will give him 208 points. Richard Schaefer, if he takes 4th, that will give him 194 points. It wouldn't be enough to take 3rd in the championship, but even if he gets ahead, I think Jack Noller will still get it by a matter of a fraction of points. You can see now, this is really heating up. Richard Schaefer smells a bit of Honda blood here at Mount Panorama as they go through through Skyline, through the S's for the final time. Schaefer all over the back bumper of Jack Noller And it's going to come down to the wire as the two leaders, Harry Spears and Tinko van der Velde, make their way down to the chase for the final time. There is the leader. He has led from lights out. And very shortly, in about 30 seconds or so, will take the checkered flag and provisionally be crowned our Series 3 Sprint Series champion. Harry Spears came in with an 18-point advantage. One more time. One last hurrah. Harry Spears exits Murray's corner and provisionally takes the Season 3 crown with a perfect race evening as Jack Noller is trying to fend off Richard Scheffer going into Murray's corner. Scheffer putting it around the outside. Moment there between the pair of them. Oh my goodness me. And that means as a result that Johannes Weiss and Richard Schäfer, respectively in 4th and 3rd. I'm not too sure if that's going to stand, but we'll have to wait to see what happens post-race. But Jack Noller, I think, might still have held on to 3rd in the championship standings. Now, looking at the points, Richard Schäfer taking 3rd, that will put him on 198 points. Jack Noller, if he crossed the line in 5th place, I think Noller's still got it. He'd have 200 points. But Tinko van der Velde provisionally takes 2nd in the race and also 2nd in the championship as a result of that. But drama for Jack Noller, Richard Schäfer and Johannes Weiss, with an incident between the two at the front, nearly giving Johannes Weiss an opportunity at 3rd place at the end of it all. Here's Azuka Langni Shikinami about to come through and take the checkered flag in 11th with Simon Vosarik. Sheldon Muscat rounds out the top 10, but Harry Spears, ladies and gentlemen, provisionally speaking, has bagged €250 and becomes our Season 3 championship.
Oh, honestly, it's a combo that we've seen so often throughout this entire season. In different combinations, to be sure, but either way, the team has just completely blown everyone else out of the water, I think. They've been performing very consistently all throughout the season, and just with such a great amount of preparation and, such a great amount of racecraft as well. It's just been really fantastic to watch these guys go.
Indeed. We're going to just wait to see if we can have a chat with a few of the drivers, hopefully to close out the season. But Harry Spears provisionally has taken home the Season 3 crown on the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series. 5 fantastic tracks here on the calendar itself. Starting things off at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So we had the Corkscrew. We then had Imola with the likes of Acqua Minerale, Piratella, Tamburello, Kyalami with the likes of Crowthorns, the Jux K Sweep, amongst other corners, as well as Mineshaft, one of the more famed roller coaster sections on that particular track. Monza with the likes of the Rettifilio Chicane, also the 2 Lesmos, and of course Acqua Minerale. And here at Mount Panorama, I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect, and we got more than our fair share of trials and tribulations tonight, Nico.
Absolutely, and I mean, so many wheel-to-wheel battles the entire time. Also, because of smaller mistakes just happening around the track, I'm just at a loss for words. Like the so to say, wheel-to-wheel battles and also literal wheel-to-wheel battles that we had were quite entertaining to watch. And just congratulations to everyone who finished, and of course, congratulations for the amount of running that the other guys who barely didn't manage to finish. It's really nothing to be ashamed of to DNF at the mountain, because I would honestly say it's the most difficult racetrack in the world to, first of all, drive fast at, and second of all, to just complete laps at, at a race pace. Simply because the Nordschleife still has some runoffs, and here it's just the wall. Not to say that, they should take away the walls, because I saw sidecar racing here from like the early 90s, late 80s or something without walls. That was even more terrifying to watch.
Okay, we just had a notification that the number 42 car is actually under investigation. So Richard Sheffer is being investigated by race control. But we look to be having some drivers come in. I think I'll hand this one over to you, Nico, because we have the Netherlands' Tinko van der Velde with us.
Tinko, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
So, quite a chaotic race for you. Well, honestly, at the start, it kind of looked like you were going to be stuck behind Sheldon for quite a bit longer, but then mistake out of nowhere. How did you deal with that moment? It was very close.
Yeah, it scared me a lot, of course, but I just avoided it and then went on. That's pretty unfortunate for him.
Yeah, but either way, very good pace from you all the time around. Did you have any trouble with tires, so to say, in these very scorching hot temperatures?
Well, actually not really. I bumped the brake ducts really high so a lot of air could get in, and so they could cool down to really cold on the straights, and that helped my tires to go down a bit more. So it wasn't that bad, and I managed the tires well. I think you could see at the end as well that my pace was just as quick as Harry, and I left the others behind because my tires were still so good.
So, a long game as well, just trying to keep the tires alive a little bit longer in these hot temperatures. Overall, you think you could have fought for the win earlier on? Like, if you had gotten past Sheldon earlier, or not quite the pace today?
No, the Mercedes and Harry is just too quick for me. I don't know why, but the Ferrari is just a little bit too slow in qualifying and at the start of the stint compared to the Merc. So yeah, I don't know if the hot temps affected that even more. Probably it did, because normally I'm a little bit close to the Mercedes with the Ferrari, but yeah, I tried my best, and yeah.
Either way, fantastic race from you, Tinko. Any shoutouts you want to make?
To my team, Sidemax Motorworks, they helped me a lot always, helped me get so quick, and of course to Harry Spears, the winner of our race and the winner of the championship. Well done to him, and I'm really proud of him.
Thank you very much, Tinko. Very good race again. Congratulations to P2, and back to you, Alex.
Okay, right. Let's have a chat with the man that has made an impression, not just over the season, but now finally takes the championship. Let's have Harry Spears with us. Harry, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Well, as always, whenever I've seen you before in other Assetto Corsa Competizione leagues, the non-Evo GT3 Mercedes proves to be a very, very good ally for you, and it proved in dividends. Fastest in free practice. Qualifying, you took pole by nearly 2/10, and it was rather smooth sailing. You got a really, really good jump on the rest of the field. I mean, especially when you had Jack Noller alongside, if memory serves me, Sheldon Muscat alongside you, if memory serves me correctly. Just tell us about the start, because that was crucial to you getting that initial lead and winning from Tinko by, I think it was about nearly 8 seconds at the end of the race.
Yeah, that was an absolute dream of the start. That was, because obviously I got out qualified at the 11th hour, really late into qualifying, so I wasn't expecting it because I was on board on Sheldon's lap. It looked like he was going by it a few quarters, but obviously not. And he put in a really, really good lap right at the end, started to get into the 2.0.8s on a 45-degree track. Pretty incredible. But I don't think he quite maximised the start, because I was really sort of at the limit of the widget. Obviously the start widget where it tells you where to line up and all that sort of stuff. I was really sort of making the most of that and trying to get past him at the start. So when I was immediately got past him, I was able to go defensive. I couldn't believe my luck. So really good start.
And also, the consistency you showed in the Mercedes proved dividends all the way through the race. But not only it being a win for yourself, but also Tinko, who won last time out at Monza, brought it home for the team. It was a 1-2 in the race, but also 1-2 in the championship for you guys. I mean, you both must be absolutely over the moon at the minute.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I can't wait to report back to the big cheeses at Cymax. It's going to be champagne all round, I think.
Who's buying? Is it you?
You got to use the prize money, right?
Yeah, well, he's going to probably use it for something a bit more than just champagne, I think, Nico. But Harry, anyone you'd like to give a shout out apart from the team?
Yeah, I'd say, Tinker, obviously. Very nice for him to be proud of me, as I heard him say. And then Jordan Grant-Smith as well. Been giving me a lot of support this season. He's been, really good. He's sort of been behind me, giving me advice. Been, really great to have him around. Yeah, those are my two big ups. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Well done, Harry. Congratulations on winning the final round and also for taking the Sprint Series title for Season 3.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, we are just awaiting on the decision between the incident between Jack Noller and Richard Schaefer, and that was a very difficult one to sort of see. I mean, obviously, our vantage point as commentators, we don't always get to see the angles that race control, who have all the telemetry as well at their disposal. Nico, it's very difficult when you get an incident that happens on the final corner of the final lap of the championship, and it was going to be a case of push comes to shove, and I wasn't at all surprised when I saw Richard Schaefer actually try and pull alongside on the outside of Jack Noller, going through into Murray's corner. That was very, very difficult indeed, and it's not an easy move to pull off.
Yeah, absolutely. He was a bit later on the brakes, so was able to get alongside there, and I think just a little bit, further on the outside, and obviously if the curb was a little bit less steep, I think the move could have worked as well. But I think also, a little bit of contact there. Noller got the car thrown a little bit forward from the curb, and then of course, not a lot of space there. So actually, we have the verdict as well. So Schaefer got a 5-second penalty for that, probably because of not leaving enough space. Difficult situation, of course. That's just racing there. And I think that would actually promote Johannes Weiss into P3.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
So that means that Jack Noller would actually get third in the championship by my calculations. But that really, we've had to wait for that decision. A big thank you to everyone for watching. A big thank you to Harry Spears and Tinker van der Velde, our respective set runner-up and champion for World Pro Racing Sprint Series 3 here on the Assetto Corsa Competizione platform for Season 3. It's one way to round off the weekend of style, isn't it, Nico?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not even rounding off, we're just starting it with style, so even more to look forward to, right?
Definitely. Now, the thing is that there is still plenty of content to come up here on World Pro Racing. We've got the Giro Series at Zolder next Tuesday night. We've then got the fourth round of the AMD GT4 Championship. Don't forget, if you are a Maltese national, you're into your sim racing, and you're over the age of 16, sign-ups are still open until Friday the 25th. And I think, just before we bring in Johannes Weiss, those wanting to enter the Malta National GT3 Championship, fueled by NMED, with an official radio partner Vibe FM in Malta, registrations close on next Friday. So I think what I'll do here, Nico, I think I'll hand over to you to have a chat with Butterpalm Motorsport's Johannes Weiss, who finished third in the race.
So, Johannes, around 2 hours ago, well, actually a bit further than 2 hours ago, a bit like about 1.5 hours before the race start, you called me that you didn't know if you were able to make it. Now podium, how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite a difficult race, to be honest. Qualifying went okay-ish, had a lot of time left, and then we were sort of like at the back of the Hondas and couldn't get past them on the straights down the hill because they were simply pulling away and being unsure to even make it to the race. And they're getting P3 by incidents that were so difficult to decide. I mean, I had that incident with Luke in the second lap or third lap, which was very, very close, and then lost out to Richard because I made a mistake into turn 4. Yeah, it was really difficult race, and then I knew how the championship positions were, so I didn't get on full throttle for the out of the last corner to make sure that we could get P3 and with that P3 in the championship. But now, yeah, sort of mixed feelings about this place, about this podium. But yeah, I'm great to have the podium, that I was able to have the pace, even though it was more due to luck than to anything else, really.
Yeah, but either way, you know, finishing in that position without that 5-second penalty still would have been a P4. So even then, moving forward on the grid, and of course in these difficult conditions here. So yeah, it's really nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. Speaking of these difficult conditions, 45 degrees track temperature in practice, 41 degrees in the race. How did you deal with that?
I mean, I had 42 in my room, so I was quite good prepared for that. But yeah, we trained at 36, I think, we had on our own server. So the temperatures weren't that problem, and because the Bentley is rather good on tires, we actually had a bit of an advantage over the other cars, which was clearly visible towards the end of the race, where we did probably the best lap times. I think second to the last lap was a 2-minute 2 dead from me. So yeah, that showed really that the Bentley is good on a long stint, and that temperatures don't hit us too hard in that car.
Right, really good insight there as well for the different car advantages and disadvantages in these difficult conditions. Johannes, any shoutouts you want to make?
Yeah, I mean, thanks to the organizers, first of all, for that event. I mean, that was a really, really nice series. Overall, very fun to drive and very good driving standards. Yeah, congrats to Harry for winning the race, winning the championship, and all the participants who made this really enjoyable. To every commentator you had, to our sponsors, you know, VCO, to my team, Butler Palm Motorsport, to Miltech, and whoever sponsors us, really. Yeah, it was really, really great fun this whole season. So thanks to everybody involved. I think I can speak for Richard and myself in this case.
Right, so very nice words there. Back to you, Alex.
Well, that really rounds up things here on the season finale, round 5 at Mount Panorama for the 3rd season of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series, live here on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, TVM Sport in Malta, motorsport.tv, esports television, and the race. A big thank you, as always, to Gaming Malta, Thrustmaster, GT Omega Racing, HyperX, where we're all gamers, and AMD. A big thank you, as always, to my partner in crime. Good to be back with this man again, Nico Hillebrand. A big thank you also to the team in World Pro Racing over in Malta, to Justin Mifsud, Adrian Figalo, George Muscat, Nathan Vella on the broadcast and race director team. That is it from us. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already and you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell. And we'll see you very soon. Next Tuesday night, as Circuit Zolder hosts the next round of the Giro Series. Goodbye for now.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.